Welcome to Bristol. Bristol has just been awarded Science City status. Earlier this year it was appointed a beacon, which is a coordination centre for national public engagement with science. Bristol has a rich history of science and innovation. It's famous for shipbuilding, its architecture, and is even credited with the invention of the toilet. Today we are here by the suspension bridge, designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and is a milestone in engineering. In this show, Anya and I will investigate why Bristol qualifies for Science City status. And here we are at UWE, home to 30,000 students, by far the biggest university in Bristol. Formed in 1992, its roots date back much further, back to the Merchant Venturers School in the 16th century. Anya went to visit the robotics department, a thriving research centre with strong links to local technology companies. She spoke to a current research student there.
So does the institute have connections or work together with local organisations or companies?
Absolutely. There are staff who are working here in our institution who are lecturing our students with and who've got their backgrounds coming from companies like Airbus, BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, companies that are here established in Bristol, and we did have lecturers who did work on for example the latest Airbus A380, and we will develop more and more links. For example, our Bristol Robotics Laboratory.
What do you think that robotics will do for support Bristol as a science city? Do you think it's a good way?
Bristol has got already a very huge scientific, engineering history. Think about, for example, the Concorde. My Concorde was for a great deal manufactured and for a great deal tested here at the Bristol Aerodrome. This university had at some parts some influence in there. I have had lectures here who were actually asking for students to come over here and say, come work at us at Bristol Aerodrome.
Rolls-Royce is also based here in Bristol and has invested over 75 million in new facilities since 1999. Engineers here build and manufacture the new EJ2000 afterburner turbofan jet engine, which is used in the new Eurofighter. This creates over 90 kilonewtons of thrust, which is quite fast, I think. Airbus employs over 4,000 people in its enormous facility in the heart of Bristol's aerospace district, a major wing of the business involved in the design and build of wings. Engineers work on flight physics and wing integration for all Airbus aircraft, including the 300-ton A380 Super Jumbo. Once finished, the wings must make their way to France by road and ferry. If only they could fly. All the way here from Silicon Valley, Hewlett-Packard has its second largest research site in Europe right here in Bristol. It produced the world's first PC, and the company says it exists to make technical contribution for the advancement of humanity. A noble claim. At the moment it's coming up with things like next generation data centres and digital media platforms. Geeky. Telephony. Mobile phone operator Orange runs its UK-based operations from here in Bristol. With over 100 million users worldwide, Orange must develop its science and technology for its network to cope with the multimedia applications that customers require in a 3G age. Now we're at the University of Bristol, established in 1876. With over 2,500 students in the Faculty of Science, it makes up the largest department in the university. Nobel Prize winner Dorothy Hodgkin was Chancellor here from 1917 to 1988.
We're here by Explore Bristol, a trendy science centre by the harbour side. This is where all the kids go crazy about pushing the buttons. So Jim, what does the Life Science team do in the science centre?
Well, we basically do anything that involves interaction with the public. So we do science busking, when we get some fun activities to engage with, do explaining, where we just make the exhibits make a bit more sense to people, and we present the shows as well.
So what's the latest exhibition?
The latest exhibition would be Inside DNA, it's our newest one. all about genetics and human body.
Was there any collaboration with local companies or the universities?
They use the Cider Institute, which is part of the Wellcome Trust, to get some of the research.
So are there any events planned in collaboration with the universities or local companies in Bristol?
We normally do events with different universities. We do meet the experts, which often involves Bristol or UE scientists.
Okay, and so what do you think how does Bristol contribute to Bristol being a science city?
Well, Bristol is sort of at the heart of science education, I think. It's right in the centre of the city. It's here for everyone to come and enjoy, young or old. So it's not just about the kids, it's about the old people too. And we've had, I think it's been about 3 million people in the last 7 years coming to have a look and explore.
We're back at the suspension bridge where we started our journey. From what we have seen, it's clear that Bristol is building on its strong history to develop into a true modern centre for science and technology. The city is in an enviable position through its strengths and partnership between business and academia, and will continue to attract investment and minds into the 21st century.
Suspension bridge. Yeah. What about Bristol Dog?
Vicky Pollard?
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hi Rosie.
We got yours in. Oh, lovely. What's going on?
We were just talking about, what defines Bristol.
Cider. Cider.
I wonder how it's made.
Let's go find out. Well, wait. What about my pint?
We're heading into the countryside outside Bristol to Pass Vale Farm, home of the Somerset Cider Company where the famous Burrow Hill cider is produced.
So here we are at Pass Vale Farm. Let's all go and have a look around and find out about cider making. This is where the process begins. In the orchard. Even the animals enjoy the orchard. We've all heard of different types of apples, like Granny Smith or Braeburn. But have you heard of a pig snout or the 10 Commandments or Slack McGirdle? Probably not. That's because these are special cider apples. Orchards like this one in the West Country grow hundreds of different varieties of cider apples. Cider apples were often named for the place they were grown in. So for example, the Burrow Hill Early, a bittersweet apple, is actually named for this farm.
Cider makers blend different types of apples to create a unique flavour. The owner of this orchard is Julian Temperley.
Well, we have 150 acres of orchard. We could put our hands, I suspect, on 100 different varieties, but we grow in quantity 40 varieties. And we need that many varieties for making the sort of cider that we make. Well, we're working on growing apples all year, but the main pressing time starts in early October, and we press every day then, and if we're lucky we finish by Christmas. So here we press around about 1,000 tonnes of apples.
Now, once the apples were harvested, they would have been brought from the orchard to a traditional cider press like this one. So the apples would have been placed underneath this enormous wooden block and pushed down really hard by twisting these great bolts on top. Now, this action would have crushed the apples and separated the juice from the pulp and flesh of the fruit, which is called the pomace. So the pomace would have been fed to cattle. Today, though, of course, they're dealing with much greater volumes of apples, and so they use modern machinery which actually makes the process a lot quicker and more efficient. The apples are stored in an enormous pit and moved into an automated apple press by a conveyor belt. Now this press squeezes the juice out, the pomace again is taken as cattle fodder, but the juice is moved into enormous vats for fermentation. And these are the vats. The apple juice remains in the vats for several months to ferment. Yeast is added, which converts the sugar in the juice to carbon dioxide and alcohol. When ready, the cider is transferred into tanks and cooled. It is passed through filters, pressurized to make it fizzy, and then bottled. Once labelled, the bottles of cider are transported to be sold in local shops and pubs.
The farm makes 90,000 gallons of cider each year, half of which is turned into cider brandy in the distillery. The cider passes through a series of condensations to remove water and concentrate the alcohol. I spoke to the distiller, Tim Edwards, to find out more.
Okay, this is Josephine, lovely girl. What she's doing is she's converting cider into cider spirit, which will eventually become brandy. With all distillations, you have three component parts. The French would call it the head, the heart, and the tail. The head being the higher volatiles, the methanol alcohols, the stuff that will make you blind and give you nasty headaches and all the rest of it, which we take out, or she does it for us. Josephine does all this automatically. The tails, these are the tails here, that's all the low wines, the fatty acids, all that kind of thing. And this is absolutely clean spirit. Would it be possible for me to have a try? Yes, indeed, yes. There we go. Very strong, very strong. I can see how it's going. Excellent.
Well, we've all learnt a lot today.
I've learned about apples.
I've learnt about cider.
And I've learned about distillation.
Oh, where's Rowan?
I don't know, where is he?
Well, never mind. Should we just go and relax with a nice glass of cold cider?
Yeah.
Good plan.
Wait.
While those city guys have been pottering around the farm, I've been doing some real research. I've managed to find myself a pub that sells the real, finished product, Boreal Hill cider. The produce of Somerset cider farms is enjoyed all over the region. In Bristol, the Coronation Tap, Cotton Porter stores, and the Apple, where we began our journey, are among the many specialist cider